All right, here we go. All right, Patrick, what you got?
Read some Star Wars this week.
Nice.
I was just going to kind of get caught up. I really didn't have a plan. So I just picked up a stack and started reading them. I'll say right off the bat, Star Wars, this Star Wars title in general is still a get it for me. Started off at number 20, which was sort of a standalone issue. Dealing with Luke, he's still searching for further teachings of the Jedi, and he tries to access a holocron, but it's not really telling him much. But he deciphers a clue, and it leads him to a planet of I don't know if they're specifically Jedi funguses or they're just hallucinatory magic mushrooms per se. But he begins having visions of past Jedi on this planet, and they try to lead him along and tell him more about the Force. I've sort of seen this. I think I've seen this trope done before in like movies or in comics where, you know, the hero is led to a planet and he's kind of overtaken by the environment, here being these mushrooms, and it seems like it's a perfect life and they tempt you to stay, but eventually, you know, the hero, you know, resists and escapes and goes on his way. But it seems, couldn't really tell here, but it seemed like the wildlife or the fungus here, it didn't really seem like they had ill intent, although it appears that some Jedi have died on this planet. But you know, they try to teach him more about the general fundamentals of the Force and the thinking, the philosophy, I guess you would say, behind the Force. And I thought it was an overall really good story. And all these issues are written by Charles Soule. This issue and the next was the artist is Marco Castiello, and he's really good with ship design and mech design, and he's also good with likeness, but he doesn't border on like photorealistic, which kind of throws you off sometimes, I think, when you're reading a book like Star Wars. The next issue, 21, gets you back into the main storyline where, you know, the Rebel fleet has been sort of decimated by what's her name? Commander Zara, the female commander, aboard Tarkin's Will, which is a Star Destroyer. And they're searching for, it's been sort of destroyed, but there's pieces, they can't really contact each other. So they're searching for this last bit of their group. And in the meantime, Shara Bay, who is married to Kes Dameron, who are Poe Dameron's parents, Shara Bay has been stranded on Tarkin's Will. She's actually hiding out there as a spy because there's certain portions, when the Death Star exploded, it damaged this Star Destroyer. And as a legacy to the people who died on the Death Star, they have not repaired the section of the Star Destroyer. Sounds like a sort of a convenient plot device in a way. But Shara Bay's hanging out and trying to give information back to the rebels. Meanwhile, Cass is getting irritated that they're not going and trying to rescue her. And it leads to the next issue, which is also part of the Crimson Reign storyline, although I don't think there's not much tie into the Crimson Reign storyline. Not having read the other parts, I can't say for sure. But the only thing that really happens here is Kira comes to Princess Leia and offers up information on where the last bit of their stranded fleet is located. In return for them sort of buying supplies, they said they do it on the rebels buy supplies on the black market anyway, so come through Crimson Dawn and buy stuff, and we'll give you this information about the rest of the lost fleet.
That's pretty interesting tie-in. Yeah.
But the next three issues are also they're branded with the Crimson Reign crossover, and I don't really see having anything to do with any further things dealing with Kira or the Crimson. It's Crimson Dawn, right? It's the name.
Yeah,
of
Crimson Dawn's the name of her gang or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right, yeah.
So then in issue 23, everything kind of comes to a head, and they go to rescue the last part of the Lost Fleet that Kira has given the information for, but Commander Zara has got some of the information of Shara Bay, and it's all they set up. She threatens. She knows about Poe Dameron, and she threatens to kill their kid. So everything kind of comes to a head. Everything sort of mashes up, and the rebels actually end up, although they lose some of their fleet, they end up defeating Tarkin's will, and Tarkin's will crashes on the planet that they're surrounding, and that leads to 24, where Commander Zara is on the run, and she's sort of playing a cat and mouse game with Leia, trying to get her to come after her herself because she has a grudge against her. They sort of have had an ongoing battle of the wits that's been going on through this post Empire Strikes Back run of Star Wars. And Leia eventually does have a showdown with her, and they kind of do the old trope where they leave her. She's about to be killed by a monster that's on the planet, but they never actually show what happens. So who knows if Commander Zara is actually gone for good. But it's an entertaining book. I do enjoy it. It's not probably, if you're a Star Wars fan, it's probably a must get, a must have. But I just say it's a get it for me. I'm still enjoying it. I'm not, in no means am I close to dropping the title or anything. I do enjoy them trying to explore these gaps between the main original trilogy. So, and I don't know how much further this is going to go pre-Jedi, but I'll also be interested to see where they go post-Jedi too. So it's still, they have me on board, and I'm still a fan of the Star Wars comic being published by Marvel.
Okay. That's good to hear. I'm a little embarrassed to say this, but I haven't read any of the new run of Star Wars yet, and I have them all, of course. But yeah, Crimson Raid's the only Star Wars I've read since this new run. Well, except for Hunt for the Bounty Hunters too, but just the regular Star Wars title, I haven't read those. So anyway, I need to get on that. You do too, Tyler, if you're still here.
I agree.
And I was going to say, yeah, I recently watched Enterprise, and yeah, they have that whole storyline where they go to a planet and there's a fungus there that, that whole thing you're talking about, that was in that. So, just something recent, like you were saying, you think you've seen it before.
Yeah.
Or no, you've seen it before. Yeah. So
I started buying those at number 21.
Okay. Hey, well, that's something.
So yeah, you mentioned it there, but that's that was when I first started collecting, when 21 came out.
And you can probably get 1 to 20 cheap. It's not like anything's really key or anything in those first 20, I think.
I love the cover of the one that just came out this week.
So
it's got
the Inquisitors
it's got everybody on it. Anakin, Kylo. It's a great design.
Yeah, I don't think I can envision it right now. I don't know what you're talking about.
I've got it right behind me if you want me to pull it out.
Yeah, let me see.
I was going to look it up. I'm surprised. Did it make our list? It didn't make our top 10?
Nope.
But Ty loves it.
Turn it. Your screen.
There's some light on there, but there you go.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. I don't think I haven't seen that. Yeah.
But the Inquisitor, Poe, Vader, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Kylo, yeah.
I remember not picking that now.
And I love when they do that backwards continuity thing where you said Poe's parents are in that with Leia. That's cool. I like that. I love that kind of thing. That's why Star Wars fans need to be reading this so you can know these kind of backstories and stuff. So. All right. So Mike basically gets your second two or your last two of that group you just covered. Good job, also, Mike. Good job.
Thank you. I knew Patrick was on a reading spree there, so.
Okay. All right. Well, I went to what I have reviewed recently and continued, which, like I said, I think that'd be a really cool thing for us to try to do as much as we can. But I reviewed Wolverine patch 1 and 2 a couple weeks ago. Or actually, no, that was last week. I just reviewed them last week. And read 3 this week. And if you remember from what I had said before, I like those a lot. And basically the story is there's this mysterious plane crashed in the middle of a jungle, and Wolverine is investigating this crash. Someone comes to hire him. And actually it referenced the timeline in this too. This references number 3, Wolverine patch number 3 from 1988, which, we were talking about how this is that timeline. And basically what we find out is I mentioned there's 2 other new mutants that I wasn't familiar with in the first 2 issues too that get in a big fight with Wolverine, but then they kind of team up with him. There's a baby that these 2 mutants have that, of course, as you can imagine, is also a mutant. And, of course, the baby is super powerful, more powerful than any mutant kind of thing. It's a healer. And not only can it heal itself, but also, heal anyone. And not only physically, but it seems like psychologically, too. It's like crazy powerful baby. And it's actually, it's a baby, but it's like 3 or something like that. It's really little, but, it can walk and stuff. And basically what happened is these mutants, when they had this baby, they're part of a Russian program to create mutants. And when they have this baby, the Russian program that created them as mutants wants to take the baby from them. And when they learn this, they actually, kidnap their own baby, for lack of a better way to describe it, and steal this experimental Russian plane and run, and it crash lands in the middle of, what is it, Madripoor or Morapur? Madripoor, yeah. And so we kind of thought it was all about the plane, but it's actually about the baby. But then we learned some of, I told you there's a whole bunch of people involved here. Nick Fury, and then the prince of the area, and then there's a couple local guerrillas, and there's natives. Everybody's involved. I told you there's a whole bunch of people involved of fighting over what I thought was just the plane, but half of them are after the baby. Then the other half are after the plane for the technology, because it's like some new technology involving the plane as well. So that all kind of starts to come together more. It answers our questions. So they actually, Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. get a hold of the plane, and the baby's still on the run with the mutants. Wolverine patch has to fend off all the baddies of all the different miscellaneous groups. They've kind of teamed up too to fight the mutants, and he fights them all while the 2 mutants that are new, I'm forgetting the name right now too, and I didn't write my notes, I was bad. But the other 2 mutants I mentioned with the baby they get away, and that's kind of where this one ends. But the baby actually helped Wolverine, and now Marvel Girl is actually involved as well, which it's a little bit inexplicable for me to even try to describe. But she's involved now as well. And they went through like 3 pages of explaining Wolverine's history in this, which I thought was kind of strange, but I guess it has to keep happening occasionally, right?
Yeah.
For the new readers, right? So yeah. I still really enjoyed this. Written really well. Art was great. Wolverine I love. So I really like this a lot. And then I went to, this is what I did, All New Savage Avengers #3. I did review 1 and 2 a couple weeks ago. And basically this is following Conan in the modern era is being hunted by Deathlock. And in the midst of his battle with Deathlock, Black Knight and Elektra's Daredevil, Weapon H, Cloak and Dagger, and Anti-Venom all get involved with fighting Deathlock for miscellaneous reasons as well. As I mentioned in the first 2, they all get sucked back into Conan's timeline because of when they're in the midst of fighting Deathlock, he's a time-traveling cyborg. So they all get sucked into this time warp back to Conan's time, and now they're not only fighting Deathlock, but also all the other crazy bad things that can happen back in Conan's time. And basically in this one, they come to realize that they need Deathlock to get back to modern times. So they come up with this plan to capture him, to beat him down so bad they can control him in essence and use him to get back to modern times. And what's interesting about this is, so Elektra's connection to the hand, and the hand is thousands and thousands of years old. So there's this old hand temple in the middle of this jungle that they take the fight to intentionally, because then Elektra can do this ceremony that will basically take control of Deathlock. They just have to beat him down so bad to a certain point, then she can take control of him, and then they can get back to modern times. But accidentally, for lack of a better way to describe it, she calls forth this demon spirit that actually Conan has fought before, and he gets involved and messes with all their plans and beats them all at once, and pretty handily too. And what's interesting about this is on the last page, there's some kind of reference to this Deathlock. I mean, does anybody have any historical knowledge of Deathlock, really?
A little bit.
So is there a bunch of Deathlocks, like Deathlock's as much of a moniker as it is a person? So a lot of people can be Deathlock? Is that what it is?
It is now, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, is anybody else going to read this? You care about a spoiler?
No.
I'm going to read it, but you can spoil it.
On the last page, he's starting to have. You're not going to be able to. Let me see if I can.
If only we had a way to put pictures on the screen.
Well, I didn't think about this until
right now.
So he's looking in water, and you see whose reflection he can see there?
It's
Miles?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Miles. Nice.
Yeah, he's. I guess it's this particular Deathlock is Miles. It's, and basically what's happening, and this kind of helps me understand something else in a way too. I don't know whether you remember me mentioning if you look at the cover of #1 of All New Savage Avengers, Deathlock seems like he's kind of part of the team. He's a good guy, right?
Yeah.
And, that was kind of confusing to me. Then reading the first 2 comics, they're all fighting against him. So I wondered why they would draw it that way, but he starts to kind of decide needs to be helping them, in a way. So, and then, like I said, he sees his reflection, and it's Miles, and it kind of alludes to he's Miles Morales, So we'll see where it goes. That's the last page, obviously. So, but it's pretty interesting. I still really liked it a lot, and the way they lay out the panels and the choreography of the fighting and stuff, it's done really well, in my opinion, as well. So, again, just like Patrick said, both of these are get-its. And if you're a big Wolverine fan like I am, that's a must-have for me, for Patch. and if you're a big Avengers fan, but you don't even need to be an Avengers fan actually. If you're a big fan of any of those characters, I would say the Savage Avengers is a must-have as well. So I like them both a lot. Glad I'm gonna continue on with those titles and keep adding them on to the review.
So Conan went back with them.
Yeah, they all went back. Yeah,
They went back. Okay. Because I'm wondering if when they do come back to modern times, if they're going to leave Conan there, because Marvel lost.
That's where he belongs.
Yeah. Well, Marvel lost the publishing rights for Conan.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't hear that. Okay.
So I wonder how they're going to do that. I mean, I don't know. They just can't do a Conan title, or they can't use the character at all, or they can still use the character but not the title. I'm not sure. But that would be a way to explain why he's not in the book anymore.
Yeah, that would be an out. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that would make sense as far as the story's being told as well, that Conan would want to stay there in general.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's not enjoying himself.
Right. And incidentally, Weapon H, there's some gamma frequency he can control in himself too, and he was actually red in this one. He looked like Red Hulk. Weapon H apparently got more going on than, and his whole flight with his wings, that was new, so they're doing a lot with Weapon H being crazy in this as well. So
around the time that character came about, I was really angry at Marvel still, and just frustrated with, they're just mashing characters together.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he's kind of cool looking, but I mean, I don't know. Just keep meshing characters together.
Yeah.
Make a new character. But I say that like it's easy.
Right.
But also, that's not my job. That's their job.
Right.
So, but he's a cool character.
I've used that same reference with all these comics and music too. It's like we have so much, it's like come up with new stuff, but it's like so much already. It's like coming up with new stuff is, like I said, especially how do they do that with music? How do they still come up with different music? I don't know. It's been around as long. Same thing with any storytelling, especially when you're trying to maintain some kind of continuity with stuff. It's why we love it so much. As long as they do it right and don't make us mad.
Right. Well, I was really mad at Marvel for a while.
Yeah, I'm pretty much over that now too. The more I think about it, who cares? It's like I'll like it or I won't like it, and I'll get it or I won't get it. But whatever they want to do with it, it's their money. They can keep doing what they do. So,
yeah.
All right, Tyler, did you read a book?
Oh, he checked out.
He fell asleep. That's what he did.
While we wait for him real quick, I want to throw out that Amazing Spider-Man. It's issue 800. And I was reading some comments from people, and they said, why, they use the legacy number. They highlight the legacy numbering on these key issues, 800, 750, and all this stuff. Just go back to all legacy.
They're trying to get the best of both worlds. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I get it.